Have you ever wanted to go into making props, but you want to make the really big props, but you want to make sure they're maybe scaled towards you? Or are you a fan of a series that doesn't make scaled props for adults, or at least takes their time when making them available? Well, this is the video for you. In this video, we're going to be breaking down all of the different methods you can go about scaling a prop, both to scale for your media or to scale to you. We can also scale it to another object. Let me show you how it's done. So you're going to want to go to this website right here. It's called knifegun.com. You can also just Google search knifegun. And you're going to be wanting to use their cosplay scale tool. I love this thing. This thing is absolutely phenomenal. It allows you to import images, and then you can scale it off of different things. Let me show you. So, let's take my sweet baby boy B, who you've probably seen in other videos or around Fan Expo, and we know that his height from his top of his head to the bottom of his foot, apologies, this isn't the greatest foot video, but you take your baseline. This is that original white line that you'll see. You'll take that and you'll input it. You can do centimeters or inches. It's always going to say centimeters over here, but for the Americans, you can just do, input it originally in inches and it will do it. But we do know that he is 50 centimeters tall. Top of his head down to his foot, he's supposed to be 50 centimeters tall. That means when you go over to this one and you hit add a line, okay, you're like, oh no, it's white, I'm going to lose track of them. You can change the color. You can do whatever you need to adjust the color, and now every single line that you put in here is going to scale in proportion to your original baseline. This is how I got him. Goodness, he does need an upgrade in this picture, but this is how I got him to be 1-to-1 scale. Which, he looks massive in my hands, but I would like to admit that I am 4'10" and got tiny baby hands, so most of my 2 scale props look very large. But you can also take this concept and turn it around to do something like this. This is my Break 'em Buster from Kamen Rider Zets, and it is to scale with the current DX versions of the Capsums. And you're like, Hex, why would you want to do this? Well, if I'm cosplaying Nox, if I'm cosplaying, I'm like, I want the Capsums to be able to interchangeably go from the currently available driver, which is actually upside down, currently available driver, to here. So what I did is I took this, found an image online of it in the show, and I scaled it in comparison to this. So this right here is actually the hole that the entire thing is scaled to. So it works. It's not as clean, you know, but I still gotta finish up some of the details, but this is scaled down so that it is still not toy-sized, but fits really nicely in the hand. But you can take the Capsum with a cosplay and click it right in. So, it allows the cosplay to still have the interchangeability of between the Capsum and it, and still allowing for a lot of the details. Mind you, here backwards is almost basically unfinished. This is what the finished side of it will look like. But it allows for all the littler details that you might not see, kind of like to scale properly. So this would expand out in the actual one. But yeah, and you realize that it does fit very nicely in the hand. So, but that's how you take it from that. So what I did for this one in particular, I had to figure out the exact shape. So I have a couple of different rulers. I've got my mat on the bottom here. I've also got my sewing ruler, and I've also got a square. So I started with the square, and I kind of got it lined up so that you could take it. And so it lines up with the 2. And it's like, okay, are we certain it's 2? Then you take the sewing, and then you can put it right up against. And then you can get the exact measurement, which it does land on 2. When I've got both hands working at this, it does land on 2. So if you're curious, these Capsums are 2 inches at their widest point. In case you're wanting to also make yourself your own Break 'em Buster, which this thing, from one end to the other, I believe is, I want to say it's 60, it's completely unfinished here on the back, but it's 60 centimeters, I believe, from nose to handle. So, but that is scaled to this with the show. let's jump back to the computer and I'll show you. So, you saw how I had it on my desk and it was scaled to it. So, I'm just going to change the baseline color to be something a little bit more standout. But basically, this spot here is where we need to scale everything to. So, we'll take this and put it here and here. We'll get it right on the middle bit. And so we have it at the widest point. And we know that it's 2 inches. We're just going to be working in inches. We know it's centimeters, but 2 inches is what all my things were scaling to, where it works out really well. So 2 inches. Which means we can turn around and now add a line. That's not what I wanted to do. Add a line, and you put it on the top. I'm going to change it to, let's go with green, to the bottom. And now you have your dimensions. This is 29 inches from top to bottom. And now you can basically just add as many lines as you want. You can just keep going. And you can add all the lines. You want to measure the tiniest little detail? You can. You can measure all of the little details that you want. What I did was, once I had it scaled, once I had it exactly where I wanted to, I took it into Procreate, made a stencil of all of the little details, anything that I think would have a cutout, anything where it was like a little bit more detailed. So like, there's this. I'm just gonna, here's the image of it from Procreate. So it's got all of the little details on it. I took that to my local library, which has a large scale printer, scaled it so that it was perfect, the same length on there, made sure that the same width, it had all the proper proportions, and I printed off like 3 copies of it so that I would have an in-person paper copy of Break and Buster, and that way I could use that, and I could, you know, glue it down to some foam and cut it out, and that's how I went about making Break and Buster. I don't plan on making a full video about it, but if you're curious about how I went about doing it, yeah. I'll also make sure to throw the Break and Buster stencil up onto my Ko-fi. It will be free. If you want to download it to make your own, go for it, have fun, anything to increase the amount of Nox fans that we have around. But this is how you go about doing it. And so, you can then take these skills and make something just a little bit bigger. So now, we're going into if you want to scale something to yourself. We're going to use Mr. Big Sword right here. See, Mr. Big Sword, I am not average height. We're going to just quickly change that to purple. So we're going to put in the height. And my height is 148 centimeters. We're going to have to use centimeters for this. I don't know what the inches are, and I'm not doing the math right now. Why? Because this thing's going to do the math for me. So if I wanted to make Sword's Buster Sword scaled to me, all I have to do is find the image of him, top of the head, bottom of the foot, or if they're wearing heels, kind of like adjust it accordingly. You can just kind of find the heel of a person. Just make sure when you're like hyperflexing your leg, or if you've got like similar style heels, take your height in them. But I know I'm 148 centimeters, so now I can add a line, make it nice and below for him. I can go from the handle down to the tip of the blade. And I know that this sword is going to be 159 centimeters. My god, I did not realize how big this sword was. You can make sure that like you've got it all stretched out, but either way, use it, you can adjust it, line them up. Even if you need to like throw in another line here, just kind of make sure you've got it straight. Angle it all up, you can throw it in. Gives you even right down to the pixels if you need the pixels. Trust me, I know some people like having the pixels. I get it. But this allows you to kind of get that scaling to you. That way you don't have to worry about it being like, man, that feels like much bigger than it should be for me. This is how you go about doing it. And then you can like take a picture of the Buster, whatever its name is. I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy fan. Apologies. I just know he's the cool guy with the big sword and everybody likes him. Okay? You do is take a pic. Now you have this length. You just import an image that is just it, like we did with Break and Buster, and you just make the new baseline the length of the sword, and that way you can go in and any little details that you would like the dimensions of, you can just input them, and you don't have to worry about anything else around that. I found this to be incredibly helpful, especially when I don't have access to like my scale rulers or what I'm wanting to work with. It just won't work with using my scale rulers, because I have done that when trying to get details from one size to another. Highly recommend a scale ruler for a lot of these things, but if you don't have that option, because they are expensive, don't get me wrong, scale rulers are really expensive, you can go about doing it this way. So that's about it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks, because, well, Zets is ending, and I've got a whole video about that, and I cannot wait for you guys to see that. It's been my favorite video to work on. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.